Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Bernie Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but if those best days are to come, we need to change the direction of the country now, before it's too late. I intend to talk about important issues and topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. Please like, share, and subscribe. Elect me to Congress. I can make a difference for all Americans, and especially Marylanders. Our guest for episode 51 is congressional candidate Michelle Talkington. Michelle is the Republican candidate for the House of Representatives in Maryland's District 5. She's an 18-year resident of Charles County, Maryland, where she resides with her husband and her 6 children. A proud graduate of the University of Maryland College Park, Michelle and her husband own M.A.K Remodeling Services, which operates in Maryland and Virginia. As a mother of 6 and a woman in construction, Michelle sees the importance of introducing opportunities in STEM and trade fields as vital career paths. Michelle has served as vice chair in multiple nonprofits. She served as artistic director for educational programs and as chairwoman of her Republican Central Committee and more. Mrs. Talkington is a fierce defender of the Constitution, the Second Amendment, parental rights, and limits in government overreach. Without any further ado, Michelle, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you. I am doing wonderful. This is it's a great time, great day to be alive, and I am grateful for it. So thank you for the opportunity to be with a friend and then hopefully to say hello and give some more information of who I am and where I stand to all of your viewers.
Well, we look forward to letting you say whatever's on your mind. So you don't mind answering a few questions for us?
Of course not.
There we go. Well, let's get started. So first, what do you feel is the greatest issue facing the average American citizen today, and how do you plan to address that issue in Congress?
Well, I'd say hands down right now, it's the economy. Average Americans actually go to the grocery store, right? We feed ourselves, we pay our bills. And I say that we have average, we have middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class. Class aside, all of us who are out there working and paying bills have to worry about how far our money is going. And right now, our money is practically being thrown away. I have 6 children, as you stated, and feeding 6 children. I don't want to scare anybody out there, but let's just say upwards of several hundreds of dollars per week to feed 3 teenage boys and 3 daughters. And I think everybody is struggling. Now, what I don't like, or what's bothering me right now, is of course the polls are saying one thing, and we have these economic strategists and big business people saying that our economy is thriving and our rates of unemployment are record low. Well, the reality is that does not reflect what an average American citizen feels. And we need to tell the truth about those numbers being jobs that were just reestablished after so many of us, I'm going to say us as a business owner, had to fire or lay off employees and wait during that COVID period, and we're building back. So those numbers, I think, are overreported. And even if people are getting paid more, it is not keeping up with the prices at the pump. It's not keeping up with the prices at the grocery store, and it's not keeping up with the prices of rent. My adult children cannot afford to rent a house or purchase a home right now. The interest rates are astronomical. So the first thing I would do is get in there in office and not pass any more bills that increase taxes on the American citizen. what are we doing to ourselves? Why are we consistently saying, oh, we just need to raise it a little bit is a little bit too much? So for the next 1 to 2 years, we need to stop. Not just that, we need to go back and revisit the bills that have pork here, there. I feel like it's everywhere. We have special interests. We need to scale back. And I think that's kind of a failure in the current administration, definitely, but even in previous administrations, where we've got to go back and get politicians back to basic economics and balancing a book. I wonder if any of them have actually written checks lately or had to pay down credit cards lately. I highly doubt it with the salaries that they have, in addition to probably other income. It's too much for the American people. We have to say no to new taxes. We have to scale back the money that we're giving away now. And we really need to look at how we can help an average American. And I really don't agree with going after large corporations to pay their fair share. I'm just going to be honest, they do. The reality of that 1% or that top 10% tier of corporations, they pay nearly 40% of the taxes in employee taxes. I think that we don't do a good enough job of explaining that to, again, an average American citizen. So let's let that free market do what it's supposed to do, watch all of these subsidies, pay attention to the people, and do what we're supposed to do to help.
Outstanding answer. I really appreciate that. And so I got another one for you. Are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Here we go. So, what are your views on securing the border and solving the illegal immigration problem?
Oh, I think you and I, Bernie, see eye to eye on a lot of this, and you have to close that border. It is a border for a reason. And this whole hopscotch back and forth is unacceptable. Shut it down. I'm a shut it down. Remain in Mexico should have been immediately reinstated, as we saw thousands and thousands, and now we're in the millions of fighting age single men crossing the border. We're not talking about the narrative of poor women and children. And yes, there's poor women and children. In fact, my issue is that women and children are being trafficked during this so that they can get here under this guise. But really, it's the men that we need to be concerned about. Millions of them flooding into the country. And why? And not only is it flooding our country, but the reality is we can't even take care of our own citizens. So if we're not taking care of the poor and those who are underserved or underprivileged, and you know this as well as I do in Black and brown communities, or even poor rural areas, but we're going to open the door, and where are we putting these people? We haven't vetted them. They need to be vetted, which is why, again, our current president has the power without a move of Congress to reinstate Remain in Mexico. The first thing he did is repeal and peel back Trump policies that secured our border. And we are seeing it. And unfortunately, we are feeling it when American citizens are being murdered. They are being assaulted. And the same criminals are finding sanctuary on American soil instead of being deported. We have to unbound the hands of our law enforcement officers and border states, give them all of the power they need, all of the help they need. And guess what? They actually had the authority to secure the borders. So this administration seems to be actively discouraging that and taking away the power because its only job is to protect America. We're a sovereign nation. They're not doing it. So I go back to shut it down. First thing I would go in and say, look, we've got to close the borders. We have to stop blocking and supporting the administration when they attack Texas, Arizona, California. We have to close the borders. We have to have a place for people to stay and get here the legal way. We have those channels. And I think when we are talking and I'm going to give this example quickly. So I thought about this today. If somebody is actively at a restaurant and they're choking, right? We're not going to sit at the table and say, oh no, they're choking. Well, what do you think the best thing to do when somebody is choking is? Oh, I don't know. What do you think? We don't sit and discuss how to save or if to save a choking person. We save them, right? We stop the issue from happening. We call the ambulance. Why aren't we doing that at our border? We are choking. We are dying. Fentanyl is crossing this border and it is killing thousands of Americans. And we're sitting back and saying, well, wait, Congress needs to discuss it. That is not how you solve this. You talk after the actions are done, and there's actions that we can do right now, right this second. We could have done it yesterday to stop the danger, to stop Americans from being killed, to stop illegal aliens from coming in or immigrants from coming in the wrong way who we haven't vetted. We have to keep our nation safe. I would review policies that look to protect those women and children, especially those youths who have been brought here, and some of them that our federal government can't even track. So I would put policies in place for the most vulnerable that have come across. Meanwhile, it's time for some deportation, and it's time to vet who everybody is and make this right.
Outstanding. We got another question for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. One of the issues you highlight is reforming our educational system. So what are your concerns about education and what solutions would you propose?
Well, I am a homeschooling parent of 6 children, and my oldest went to a private school. She went to regular school, like a public school. So I'm not opposed to public school. I'm not opposed to private school. But when our current system where I'm at in Charles County, when violence was an issue and children weren't being protected. And then when we saw the numbers of students being failed in the very basic form of education, which is learning to read and to write, I said, something has got to give. So I made the choice, and I was blessed to have the choice to be able to stay, work from home, and educate my children. So what I would propose right away was legislation that supports parental rights and school choice. And I say that because parents, typically, we are with our children the most. We understand that our children have different needs. Now, there are great teachers out there, but it's time for our public schools that are failing to have some competition.
Oh, yeah.
And school choice gives competition. I know what competition is. If people don't like my remodels or my bathrooms, then maybe I need to reflect and I need to use better product, hire better employees, right? That competitive edge is what keeps me getting clients in. But we don't have that in schools. And why is that? And I say it's important for American children not only to read, that again, that's basic, bare minimum. And we're here in Maryland. Baltimore has graduated children with a 0% literacy. Zero. They cannot read. Let's not just third grade reading level cannot read. So we're graduating adults at that point when they're 18 who are illiterate, who don't understand math, whose scores in science and history are below the charts, right? But we're saying, here you go. We've had you for 13 years. Now it's time for you to fend for yourself in the world. And these educational centers, these public schools have been allotted $17,000 to $20,000 a year for that one child or several children to fail. Why is that? How have we sat back and said that's okay? And not only okay, well, let's just give them more money. Clearly, more money in Maryland schools did not equal better readers. It did not equal more proficiency in math. And I say this half in jest, but apparently those who are in charge of these systems have gotten that same type of education as mathematics. They cannot add and subtract right. They're not understanding the numbers. They don't understand that you don't throw money at that problem. You throw solutions at the problem. And giving parents, especially those in failing school systems, which again tend to be minority school systems or rural areas, giving them the choice to find a Montessori school, giving them a choice to save their own taxpayer money and homeschool and apply those funds to the books and the curriculum we need as homeschoolers, that would guarantee children coming out reading in the 70%, 80%, 90% proficiency. That doesn't just help our students here on American soil to be excellent employees, doctors, lawyers, those in the skilled trades like myself, that you need math, you need geometry to understand building, right? that would help us on a national scale. And so here's where I leave you with school choice, parental rights for parents to say, this is where my child needs to be. I'm paying you, my tax paying dollars, to provide a service for my children in education, and you failed. So here's where we demand the refund. We demand that you look at everything over because we're failing on a national scale.
There you go.
Again, I go back. Nationally, we will not be able to compete with governments who are our adversaries. If we cannot compete intellectually with children in China or even children in, say, Russia, where we look and say, we've got major issues that go way beyond reading and writing and having a great life here on American soil. We've got issues where other nations are looking at us in that dropping to that number 20 on the world scale for education. And apart from colleges, I'm talking regular average Americans, we are, I don't want to say we're doomed, but our children will not be able to compete and fight back because intellectually we have harmed them. And we've got to do better. School choice, we've got to do better. And getting things out of the hands of teachers' unions. I love my teachers. God bless you all. I think you deserve fantastic salaries. I think you deserve the best. And there's a lot of you hardworking out there. But again, if a senior cannot read, then several educators failed them.
Totally understand, and I totally agree as well. Now, got another question for you. You ready?
Yes.
The floor is now yours. Say what you will to the people.
Well, I will say that it's time for leaders, new leaders, to stand up and stand out for our values. America is an amazing nation. We are the best nation in this world, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And actually, I'm just getting tired of this full left agenda that says we should apologize for being an American. We should feel sorry. We should feel bad. No, people make mistakes. Every nation, every country has mistakes and has its dirty past. How far do you want us to go? Should we go all the way back to biblical times to make amends for all of the tragic things that have happened? No, right here and right now is where we're at. We're not 100 years, 500 years, or 1,000 years back in time. We're now. Our kids need somewhere to go in the future. So we need leaders who are willing to stand up. We need leaders who are not going to be afraid of establishment. And that's another reason I'm running, because as an outsider, I'm sitting back thinking, well, you were elected. I elected you because of the values I thought we had in common and that you would stand up. But when money and power get in the way, sometimes people back down. And I'm looking around the entire nation and saying, where are those people that are not going to back down? And where are those people who are not going to race bait? Because I'm tired of that argument. Tired of it, sick and tired of it, who are not going to be, it's the elitists versus us, it's them versus us. Bottom line is we're Americans. There's not a them versus us, it's a us. It's a us versus the world. It's a US. It's USA.
There you go.
So we don't get past this and unite and elect strong candidates and put them in office, keep them in office and let them do what they're supposed to, which is defend the Constitution. Again, do I need to say that for those politicians in the back who didn't hear? We need to defend the Constitution, not your agenda. And maybe it's time for elected officials to go back and reread the Constitution.
There you go. I like what you have to say. So, with all that said, how can people get a hold of you if they need to?
I'm on all platforms of social media. You can email me at votemichelle.talkington@gmail. You can find me at www.talkingtonforcongress.com. You can find me on Facebook, Vote Michelle Talkington, Twitter, Talking for Michelle, and Instagram, Vote Michelle Talk. So it's an unusual name. I'm grateful for it. Vote Talkington. Look me up. And I love just discussing anything, any topics. I enjoy a challenge, but I enjoy conversations with regular people. That's how we unify. That's how we keep going. That's how we make a brighter future.
I love it. Michelle, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very, very busy running your business and running for Congress at the same time and raising your family. So I understand that. And the fact that you've taken time out of your day to spend with us is very, very special. I look forward to having you on the program again, and I want to see you win because I think you'd be good for America.
All right, me too. I want to see me win. And I thank you so much. And I thank you to all of your viewers. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Take care of yourself. Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media, Fallback Productions, and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Be sure to get your copy of my book, Black Values Matter, available as an ebook on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. And also remember that I'm running for Congress in Maryland's 3rd District. We have the best chance to win in a generation, and I intend to do just that. Check me out at flowersformaryland.com or on most social media. And lastly, it's okay to disagree, but if you want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'll see you next week.